Hi everybody, I'm Jane from Willow Blue Vintage, and today I'm showing you my ocean themed journal that I've made for the Graphics Fairy premium site. So it's a journal with a fabric cover, and the image that I've used in the centre of the cover is this image from the Ocean Blues bundle of this beautiful woman coming out of the sea. So I printed it onto fabric, and then I used a technique called reverse applique to make this decorative surround. So this has got a number of layers of different coloured fabrics that you then stitch into, cut out parts of it to reveal the different colours underneath, and then embroider on top of, and I've added beads and sequins. And the whole cover's on this fabric background. So inside it has these pockets that the cover slides into. I've made a tutorial for the Graphics Fairy to show how to make this cover in case you wanted to make one yourself. So the journal itself, I've just put a fairly plain cover on. This is from the distressed texture photos. It's not really sort of meant to be seen because it's going to be in that cover, but it's just to make it look tidier. So I'll pop that back into the cover. Okay, so the inside, I've used this sea green backgrounds bundle. It has numerous versions of this sort of background that's these like distressed greeny blue colour wood effect prints. So I've used those a lot throughout the journal. And I've made this little wooden bookmark. It's made from a piece of driftwood, and I've transferred a photograph of some people standing in the sea onto it. So that can just sort of slot into any page. And then there's a tag from the Ocean Blues bundle here where you can put your name. So throughout the journal I've done a lot of mixed media work, a lot of stenciling and collaging using acrylic paint. This is an old cigarette card that I've just stitched in onto some antique silk and lace. And then there's this little porthole here with an image behind it so you can see the seagulls flying past. Similarly here, again, quite a lot of mixed media work, an old photograph with some gesso on it. And this little kind of booklet here, it's got some antique handwritten paper and stencil of seagulls that I made, bit of silk, fragment of the sea green paper, and lots more of that sea green paper. And then throughout the book I've used this quite a lot, where I've sandwiched old seed heads and flower heads. This is a dried hydrangea head that I've sandwiched between some rice paper and some tissue, and then sort of applied some wax on top and stitched it in. More of the sea greens. And in the sea green bundle you get these lovely printables. So it's the sea green background with different images that have been put on top. I've used these a lot. I've printed some onto this newsprint paper that's quite textural. Some I've kept on this paper, so it's on different weights, and it just adds different sort of points of interest really easily, because the collaging is already done for you. And this is a piece of paper that's come from an old a photograph album. It's the sheet of this transparent paper that protects the photographs and just adds a nice bit of texture. And this page here, the Chop House, this came from the Sea and Nautical filter. So on the images part of the premium website there's various filters that you can select, and under natural history there's a Sea and Nautical filter. That brings up all sorts of really interesting ocean themed ephemera, so that's where that one came from. And this bit of coral here also came from the same search that I've cut out and put with this little boy digging a hole in the sand. And then this page here, the background is a map, so it's an ocean part of the map. Again, I stenciled some seagulls over it. Made this little pocket from a piece of old ledger paper, with some gold leaf on top. And this Down by the Sea image came from the Ocean Blues bundle. And this, I absolutely adore this. I kind of made it into a cabinet card. So it's a print that actually came from the free part of the website. So I put in people by the sea as a search and got a number of different images. This lady collecting cockles, I think it is, by the sea. So I printed onto card. I've backed it with a piece of map from the Ocean Blues bundle and then waxed it and distressed it, and it looks like a really old cabinet card. Here again I've used another bit of the collage sheet from the sea green backgrounds with some gold leaf and some seeds that I've again sandwiched between tissue paper and put some wax over. These I thought looked like a sort of line of little fish, and some distressed papers and bits of gold and fabric tucked in. And this is another free image from the website, again from the People by the Sea. I've put this sort of rice paper page over it with flowers stitched in that acts as a flap. And then on this side I printed one of the collage sheets, the printables. So this one from the Sea Greens I printed onto some organza. So if I put something white behind it, you can see the print. So I got a normal piece of printer paper, stitched the organza on around the edges so that it stayed in place, and put it through the printer. And it just gives this really nice kind of ghostly texture. So that's stitched in place. Another little tuck spot there with a card that I made and put wax and distressed over it. And this one came from the Mermaid's Cove bundle. Various tags on here. That's this little tag here that I've distressed, and it's attached with a twisted cord that I made. I did a tutorial on the premium site for a blue bird tag, and as part of that I show you how to make these twisted cords. Got a little tuck spot here made from a piece that I had left over from a previous project, which is from the book papers bundle, and a crab that I found from the Sea and Nautical filter. And then this page, this was an image from the Mermaid's Cove bundle, which I stuck down, and then I've used paints in matching colours to just extend the painting right across, and then I've also painted on top of the image so that the whole page just looks like it's something hand painted. I've put a little bit of vintage embroidery there and some silk, and then we've got a little porthole here again that I've put some gold leaf around. So that porthole there is peeping through to this little mermaid on the next page. So these are images also from the Mermaid's Cove bundle. Some more seed heads there, and again you can see the porthole. And then we've got this little booklet that I've made, another piece of the Sea Greens collage, rice paper, seeds, silk and stitch. And then this kind of cabinet card type thing, again with one of those mermaid images that I've put onto card, waxed it, distressed it, scratched into it, just generally made it really interesting. This paper in the background is some rice paper that I wet and scrunched up so it was really creased, then let it dry and applied a wash of thin acrylic paint so that the paint sort of went into some of the cracks in the paper, and it gives this kind of oceany look. Another seashell that I've made into a cabinet type card. And this net here was a piece of net that came from the back of an antique map. So I peeled the linen off and made this little tuck spot because it looks like a fishing net that's kind of replicates the one that she's holding there. And got another of the free images here where I searched for mermaids on the public part of the site, and again one of these rice paper pages over it. And then this tuck spot here, I made this from a page in the book that I use when I'm painting. I have an old book that I mix paint onto, and this was just all the sort of blobs of the greeny blue colours that I've been using. So I cut a section out to make this tuck spot, and used this, found this seascape on the Graphics Fairy site, and again applied some wax and some paint around it and distressed it. Used another of the vintage postcard backs there. And this is a piece of actual driftwood that I found on my local beach. So I've painted part of it with gesso and then collaged on some of the green background papers there, and that's just sitting on this little flap of paper. And then another postcard that I've made and waxed and distressed and stitched in with silk. So this page is made from a jelly print. So I used some leaves from my garden, put those onto the jelly plate, and then printed around them onto this tissue, and then stuck that onto the old book pages that formed the basis of the page. This is an old photo I had of some ladies on a cruise ship. That was actually printed onto some fabric, and then I've stitched that in, again with some more tissue and dried flowers. An old bit of atlas there. This is a mixed media page where I've used different pastels and stencils, and a piece of that coral that I found on the Graphics Fairy website, again when I searched for sea and nautical images. And this is a piece of stenciling that I did using puff paint. So I painted through the stencil, and then it gives this kind of image of sea spray going up the page. There's an old photo there that's attached in with some silk and stitch, more seed heads. And then this is some of these images again. So this tag image here, where I've applied wax again and sort of distressed around it, and similarly with the tag. So the background on this one is from the Distressed Photos Textures bundle. And this page, the sleeping side by side, just trying to find which bundle that was from. I can't find my paper now. I think that was from the Ocean Blues bundle. Another bit of embroidery there. And this seashell, so started like that, and then again I've added a lot of acrylic paint, painted over it with acrylic paints, sort of enriched the colours, and put some gold leaf on. So again it looks like a hand painted piece, and I really like the way that those kind of dusty pinks work with these dusty greens and blues, and again more seeds stuck onto the page and stitched in place. It's a bit of an old map there. And this image I really loved, so I found this in the general search bar on the premium site. I put in the word distressed, and you get a number of images. One of them is this beautiful sailboat that's been superimposed onto an old map. So I used a section of that to make this postcard, and again applied some wax and some paint and distressed it. And this little tuck spot that it's sitting in is from the Mermaid's Cove. There was some circular printables, and I just cut a section out of one to make this little tuck spot. And then finally another sort of seascape that I've made and distressed. And then this little book. So I used images from the Sea and Nautical filter, and found this steering wheel for an old ship. So I've cut out the centre to make this kind of peephole, and then these images which kind of look like jellyfish, but I don't actually know what they are. They could even be pollen, but to me they've got a nautical theme. So they all open out like that, and then you can close them in whichever order you want, to be able to see whichever image you want through the porthole. And that's all stitched together with antique sari silk and silk thread, and that just slots into that back cover there. So I hope you've enjoyed looking through this journal. I absolutely love making it. Thanks for watching.